What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Thank you for joining me for another replay battle. Today I have a 3 versus 3 on 1212 AD, using some of perhaps the lesser known factions that you don't get to see very often in your 1212 games. This is going to be pitting the forces of the, honestly I can't say this properly, the Ayyubid Caliphate and their ally the Sultanate of Room, against the forces of Pomerania and Georgia. I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. But first things first, let's take a look at the army compositions, and there's a lot of really beautiful units in here. For example, the Tawashi Cavalry. These guys are far and away the best pick for the, honestly, correct me on this, is it Ayyubid or Ayyubid? I'm not 100% sure on that one. But they are by far the most cost-efficient version of their heavy cavalry. They have the best charge and I think the best offensive and defensive melee stats as well, compared to the only other option that they have for shock cavalry, that being the Askari Nobles. And there's a few of them on the field as well, so we'll take a look at them in just a moment. But yes, over here we've got a couple units of Awashi Cavalry, and it's really good to see both sides having access to heavy bowmen. Mounted heavy bowmen, that is. These are the senior Ghulam, and from what I've been able to find out, Ghulam is a word that means slave. So these troops may have been either former slaves that were pressed getting into the military, or slaves that were taken in battle and then given a choice to join the Sultan's army, or, you know, die. But I'm not 100% sure on that one. It's a little bit of a... The Eastern factions in general are a little bit of a historical blind spot on my part, but I am doing my best to learn a little bit more about it to do them justice. In any case, we've got some Adath Spearmen, or a medium spear infantry. Obviously, they're great against cavalry, and they've got an average missile block chance. I think got about 25, so they got about a 25% chance to block incoming missile attacks from the front. Over here, we got some Ghulam Foot Guard. Again, like the mounted Ghulam, they've got an excellent rate of fire, really nice armor. You can tell right here, and I think they've got an average missile block chance as well, weighing in at about 25. And look at the detail here. This is gorgeous. Hats off to the 1212 team. They've done an amazing job at bringing these units back to life in the Attila engine. Behind them, we've got some more Athda Spearmen, some Ghulam Foot Guard. Again, I think these are, yes, more bowmen. And behind them, we've got some Thakla swordsmen, who are all really, really nicely armored. And they've got good morale and, of course, an average missile block chance as well. I love the way that these guys look, just head to toe in chainmail. They got the chainmail, like, balaclavas on as well, and those very distinctive kind of dome-like helmets. Really a very popular design in the ancient world. I mean, from the Normans to Eastern factions like the Russians, to the Far Eastern factions like the Ayyubids, that is a design that keeps cropping up, and it's really cool to see that all over the place. Behind them, we've got a few units of Mamluk Tabardaria. These guys have a really nice armor-piercing damage. They've got about 12, which puts them on par with some of the late-period or they've got 10, rather, which puts them almost on par with some of the late-period halberdiers who have 12. So they're really good at smashing apart heavy infantry units, but from my experience, they do kind of fall apart against some of the more powerful heavy infantry units, especially ones that are a tier above them. But in a tier 1 battle like this, these guys are going to be a unit to watch out for. I think they're capped at about 3, so we've probably got the full complement here. I can see at least 2 of them. Last but not least, we have the Sultan's Guard, these beautifully armored Eastern cataphracts. I love these models. I think we've got the same kind of helmets that we saw on the front lines. They have the that beautiful Arabic script written on the back of them, although I could be wrong about that. But in any case, really cool to see these guys on the battlefield. They've got really good morale and, of course, high charge bonus, making them excellent shock cavalry. And they've also got high health, as befits a general's bodyguard. Behind them, or just in front of them, we've got some Yun swordsmen, and I think these are just kind of like the regular kind of foot soldiers for one of the Eastern Caliphates. I can't remember the name of it right now. It starts with an R, but the name kind of escapes me. Finally, we've got some Adath archers in the front, alongside the Ghulam Foot Guard. These guys are really easy to gun down. They're actually quite lightly armored, but they've got decent range to make up for it. Moving on over here, we have another force from the Ayyubids. This is under the command of Blood Magpie himself. We've got some junior Ghulam, because of course we have bow cavalry. We've seen him really shut down a lot of heavy cavalry advances with his mounted bowmen, so it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with the other side, who I know have mounted archers as well. He's also bringing some Tawashi cavalry with a silver chevron, and another unit of them right over there. His infantry line consists mostly of the Yun swordsmen, who are quite few and far between on the blue team's right wing, but most of his line is the Yun swordsman. Actually, it's about even with the Yun swordsman and the Dakla swordsman. In front of him, he's got some Golem foot guard. Again, excellent rate of fire on these guys, great armor, and an average missile block chance, making them exceptional as survivors, essentially, in a skirmish fight against some of the more lightly armored Tier 1 archers. Moving on over here, we have the Sultanate of Rune. Or Room. I keep saying Rune. I'm sorry. I know they're not actually the Easterlings. The Sultanate of Rune. These are the veteran Ghazi. They're kind of just okay. They've got a little bit below average armor piercing, but it is far and away better than any of the other infantry picks that are available to the Sultanate of Rune. I think they're probably one of the factions that we're going to see a big expansion for in the future, but at the moment, they've got a pretty slim selection, mostly, actually, uniquely of Tier 1 units. But in any case, the veteran Ghazi. Ghazi is an Arabic word for soldier, I believe, related to the Askari nobles, which I think is like the word for army. But in any case, the veteran Ghazi are sort of the equivalent to religious crusaders. The word eventually became to be associated with holy warriors after the rise of Islam on the Arabic Peninsula. But in any case, moving on now, we've got about 5-6 units of veteran Ghazi. They are Arabian, though. In front of them, he's got some Anatolian spearmen. These guys are not a bad medium infantry pick at all. Their armor-piercing damage is absolutely god-awful. I think they have, like, 1, basically, so they will just kind of, lightly poke at heavily armored units, so make sure you pick your fights very wisely for these guys. At a glance, looking at their stats, I would say they're probably best at either fighting other spearmen or being used to support cavalry. In front of them, we've got some more Golem foot guard. At this point, we're quite familiar with their capabilities. In behind, we've got a couple units of Askari nobles, which I believe is another word for warrior. I know that the Askari it's a word that European colonies used for troops from Africa that would serve in the colonial armies, but I think the word's etymology goes back quite a bit farther than that, and this mod in particular is kind of proof positive. So we've got some Askari nobles here. They are heavy shot cavalry, but they are not quite as good as the I can't remember the name of them. The Tawashi cavalry. They cost about the same though, so I think there's maybe a little bit of a stat adjustment there. Although there may be some mechanics that these guys have that the others lack that I'm a little bit unfamiliar with. But at a glance at their stats, these guys are not as good as the Tawashi cavalry, but still not a bad Tier 1 pick at all. I think they've got about 28 charge damage, making them exceptional for running down lightly armored archer units and things like that. We've also got another unit of Sultan's Bodyguard, excellent morale, good charge bonus, and high health, again, as befits a retinue of troops designed to protect the general. But that just about does it for the blue team. Let's pop on over to the red team side and take a look at their armies. Starting from the north and moving south, we have the forces of Georgia. Over here we've got some Tazdruli. These guys are not bad on the charge at all. I believe they've got like 30 charge damage, which is really good for a Tier 1 unit. They've got really nice armor, and I think they've got pretty competitive health as well, something to the tune of about 165, maybe 160, which puts them right up there with the health of like Western kind of European feudal knights, which is really good. So they'll stick around in melee for quite a while, and of course they've got good morale, so they're not easy to get rid of if you surround them. It's also got some heavy horse archers. Good to see horse archers on both sides. We're going to see a lot of missile dueling in this battle. These guys are really fast, a great rate of fire, just like the Ghulams across the way from them, but I think they lack the block chance of their Ghulam counterparts. So looking at the skirmishers so far, it seems to me that blue has the advantage in terms of their ranged contingents. But over here we've got some, I'm not sure how to say this, Metsekhovne spearmen, something like that. These are medium spear infantry, obviously very good against cavalry and that sort of thing. Average missile block chance weighing in at about 25%, I believe, but they're going to be fighting a lot of spearmen on the other side, so it's going to be a nice match for these medium tier spearmen. In front of them, we've got some Manaspa foot archers. These guys do not have the greatest block chance in the world, despite being equipped with that very, very nice, very impressive shield there. But they do have a good rate of fire, and they have good range, so they can put down a lot of fire very quickly from range before, potentially before some of the other skirmishers can get into range of them, which is their big advantage, I think. In front of them, we've got some I honestly don't know if I'm saying this right. Is it Tazdruli or Tazdruli? Swordsman. I'm not 100% sure on that. But they have really nice armor, a decent charge bonus as well, and good morale. I think they've got about 25-ish% block chance as well. So, you know, they're okay at standing up to missile fire from the front at least. Behind them, we've got some Manaspa Guard, heavy bow cavalry. These guys, think have a really good charge bonus as well. They're more than a match, or at least they are a good match in any case for the Gulam across the field. But this is a General's Bodyguard, so I don't think we're going to see them in melee until absolutely necessary. But yes, behind them we got another couple units of some more Tazdruli heavy shock cavalry, or Tazdruli, not 100% sure on that one. Moving on over here, we have the Army of Armenia. We got some Armenian horse archers. These guys are really easy to gun down at range, and they don't have a lot of armor, but at least they've got good morale. And, you know, horse archers, if you get them in an ideal position, they're not really going to have to worry too much about incoming fire anyway. The best place for horse archers that I've seen so far in all the replays and the games that I've played is to be harassing heavy cavalry units, using their heavy shot if they have it available to them. And I believe these guys do. But yes, in any case, moving on, I've got some more Armenian horse archers and some Azat archers as well. And these guys have access to all kinds of different kinds of shot, so they're very versatile archers. They just don't have a lot of missile block chance, so they're quite easy to gun down. But again, good range, good rate of fire, and that really seems to be what the Armenians and a lot of the factions on their side have been going for. Behind them, we've got some Armenian heavy infantry. I think these guys weigh in at about 6 or so armor-piercing damage, so you know they're okay. Better than some of the infantry across the field, certainly. And they've also got really nice morale as well, so it's not easy to break them. Behind them, we've got some Highlanders, and I think these guys might be having an issue with their model. They have a really nice armor-piercing damage, I think to the tune of about 10 off the top of my head, which puts them up there with some of the higher-tier halberd units, but they don't have a lot of armor. And obviously, some of them are armed with sticks, and you know, in my mind, sticks probably aren't all that great at bashing in plate or chainmail. But I think maybe that's just a little bit of an oopsie there on the part of the model. But I'm not 100% sure on that one. Another unit of them right there. And over here, we got some Armenian heavy cavalry. Good morale, good speed. Not the greatest charge. These guys are a melee cavalry instead of a shock cavalry, but they've got a decent charge bonus in any case. I think they can also form the what do you call it? It's like the pizza-shaped formation, the wedge formation, of course, which is really useful for penetrating through lines. Over here, we've got the Nakarar Guard. I don't really know too much about these guys. They have good health, though, as befits a General's Bodyguard. Good morale, and again, an average kind of charge bonus, which seems to be a trend amongst the Armenian cavalry. Over here, we've got some more Armenian heavy infantry, some more Armenian horse archers, Highlanders, and then we get into the Duchy of Pomerania. No, nothing to do with the puppy. This is, in fact, a duchy from Eastern Europe, not terribly far from Poland. In fact, I think parts of it belong to Poland and Lithuania at one point or another in history. But in any case, these guys are definitely the pride, I think, of the heavy cavalry for the red team. They have a lot of armor, about 170 health, which is really good. Definitely on par with a lot of the Occidental mounted units, for Tier 1 in any case. And they've also got really nice morale. I've got some... this is more of the Armenian troops, some more Azat archers. We've got some axemen here. These guys, I don't think they have anything above the standard armor piercing, despite the fact that they are axemen, which means they probably weigh in at about 5 or 6 armor piercing. So don't expect these guys to function like axemen do in Third Age, for example, where they're really good at hacking their way through armor. Got some more Pomeranian knights there, some more axemen, and in front of them we've got some archer sergeants. You guys we're pretty well familiar with these guys. They don't have a great missile block chance. They don't have a lot of armor, but they do have a decent range to make up for those two things. Over here we got some more spear sergeants, basically standard infantry here. A lot of them are very, I think, more Western themed, being very close to Poland and other kind of more Western facing European nations. These guys have really good attack against cavalry, good morale, and decent missile block chance, so probably about 25 as well. I got some more archer sergeants, some more spear sergeants, and some more Pomeranian knights. Not a whole lot of different diversity in terms of these factions, because I think a lot of them, as I believe I mentioned earlier, are still in production. The mod isn't 100% finished yet, so we'll probably see more from the Pomeranians in the future. But one more thing over here, we have the Pomeranian King, who is basically sharing the same model as the Pomeranian Knights, but this is their General's Bodyguard unit, and I think it's got a little bit more health and some better charge stats and other things like that as well. But without any further ado, let's jump right into the replay. On the blue team's left wing, we can see some of Blood Magpie's horse archers moving themselves into position. We've seen this tactic from him in the past, and it's really done a number on a lot of the other heavy cavalry factions that the Western European forces can bring to bear. But this time around, he is not going to be able to just skirmish uncontested. The Georgians have brought their own horse archer contingents. You can see them moving forward and beginning to do to the Ascari nobles what I'm sure Blood Magpie's horse archers want to do to the cavalry across the field from them. But looks like we can see a very nicely supported push here from the Askari nobles. Though looks like those junior Gulam are actually going to turn around, but in their place you can see a couple units of Anatolian spearmen moving in to support them. Over here, these Armenian horse archers beginning to rain down death and destruction upon these Askari nobles as they move in. Very light casualties so far, except on this unit here, which has lost nearly an eighth of the unit in just a few moments of battle. But let's slow down just a moment here, because there's something I think that is really notable that is going to cause the blue team a lot of problems. If you look at the order of battle, what it appears to be to me is that the red team is going for a double envelopment, which is a very famous flanking maneuver. In fact, it is the flanking maneuver that brought Hannibal victory over the Romans at Cannae. So the blue team is really going to have to... I think they're really going to struggle to prevent themselves from being surrounded and slowly but surely crushed. There's a lot of pretty decent holding infantry in the middle. Those Armenian heavy infantry alongside the Tazdruli swordsmen, which are basically the best pick that the Georgians can bring. This center force here is going to hold them, I think, long enough for the red team to try and crush them on the wings, and then just slowly but surely begin to tighten the noose all around them. So it's going to be, I think, really down to the blue team to trying to prevent that from happening. If they can force some kind of... either a stalemate or a victory on the wings, then they may be able to induce some of the red team's cavalry to have to circle back around, thereby weakening that other wing to deal with any problems that may occur for them on either side of the blue team's army. But time will tell. We'll see in just a little while what the blue team is going to be prepared to do to deal with that, because that is not that is a very intimidating force right there, and that is not something that you want to play around with, because very, very quickly you can find yourself overwhelmed and crushed between the might of a lot of infantry and cavalrymen. In the front here, we can see the Manaspa Guard moving forward. That's a very bold move on the part of the Georgians, putting their general on the front line, beginning to skirmish a little bit with the Anatolian swordsmen, or the Anatolian spearmen, rather. Wow, English is hard today. These troops getting themselves now formed up. I think they have a spear wall formation that increases their block chance, so they may be getting into that very, very shortly in order to get those troops to waste their ammunition. And indeed they are. You can see them now locking shields, getting themselves prepared to weather the storm that is coming their way. Over here in the center, a little bit of I think a delayed engagement, although it looks like the blue team is going to take the bait, move forward. I think this could potentially be a mistake on their part. If they're not careful, they could find themselves, as I mentioned earlier, surrounded and crushed between two very powerful forces on the wings. There's a lot of cavalry over there and a lot of infantry and archers to back up that cavalry. This is probably one of the better organized cavalry pushes that I think that I've seen in a 12-12 game. So the blue team really have their work cut out for them at this point. Oh, looks like we got a little bit of action here. Some of the Tazdruli cavalry moving forward. There's no support coming for these guys at all. Oh, this is going to be devastating. Oh, that is a beautiful, beautiful charge there from the Georgians. That is everything that you want out of a cavalry charge. They've managed to flatten a lot of these Yun swordsmen, dealing a little bit of casualty to the veteran Ghazi. And it looks like they're going to destroy that Gulam foot guard unit, which I believe is now routing and is broken before any aid can come in the form of the Tawashi cavalry. That is a beautiful, well-executed charge on the part of the Georgians right there. Probably the finest I've seen in a very long time. Over here, though, the Taz really not doing nearly as well. I think the blue team was a little bit better prepared. They had some spearmen in the area to back up some of their veteran Ghazi and things like that, and the Taz really weren't able to get a piece of any of those foot archers, but I think managed to pull back behind in time. Although, now that I mention it, these guys are down to half strength, that could be from the skirmishers just across the way. These guys are very, very concentrated here, and really looking to weaken that line. This veteran Ghazi now fleeing already. Let's go ahead and slow it down here so we don't miss too much. That is a very big hole in the line. Look at this. And they don't have any infantry reserves nearby to try and plug it. Things are looking really bleak for the blue team here, I think, at this point in the game. Over here, it looks like the red team is content more or less just to lock this side down. They're really concentrating all of their cavalry over here in the center, looking to punch through the lines that they're creating in the forces of the Sultanate of Rum. That is a really nicely coordinated assault. You can see already some cavalry moving in there. The Tazdruli shot cavalry on the front lines, looking to get into the front of these veteran Ghazi. That is going to be devastating, but they're going to think, I think, a little bit better of it at the last moment and turn themselves around. But another, Tazdruli coming in. Oh, no, maybe not. I think this is a very good time to follow through with the success that they've had so far and punch through there and get themselves in amongst those horse archers. Although now that I think about it, that does pose a certain problem for them, which is maybe why they hesitated. I can see a lot of horse archers here in the back. They would be caught kind of in a crossfire by Blood Magpie's Gulam, which maybe is what Blood Magpie wanted. That could explain the presence of them here in the center. Over here, looks like we had another charge from those Tazdruli. They turned around, came back, looking to get another piece of the blue team's forces. But the blue team is now going to counterattack. Big counterattack coming forward in the center here, possibly looking to fight their way out of this encirclement, which is taking place. These Tazdruli swordsmen, though, I think are going to hold the line long enough. Over here, the Yun swordsmen and the Tazdruli swordsmen really, really even, although there is definitely a number advantage in favor of the Yun swordsmen. But we'll see how that plays out for them. Over here, oh man, the Georgians are in trouble. 94 out of 120. They may be able to break through here with the aid of the Tawashi cavalry. That would be a very big problem because, like the blue team, there's not a lot of infantry reserves to go around. I think now would be the time to potentially focus their archer fire on this area and try and drive these guys back where they seem to be strongest. Elsewhere, things not going great. It's kind of back and forth in places. Here the Jun swordsmen are really having a hard time punching through the Armenians. Armenians holding their ground very, very well. There is a little bit of support here in the form of the Yun spearmen, rather. So this line isn't going to fall apart if these guys rout. But so far the Armenians really seem to have the upper hand. Elsewhere, though, you can see a lot of bow companies moving up, doing a number on those Azat archers. Like I said earlier, the skirmishers, especially in the form of these Gulam foot guard, definitely have the advantage in a ranged fight, and they're really making their presence known. You can see a huge number of those Azat archers now beginning to flee off the battlefield after taking very heavy casualties. It's just a graveyard in the back lines here. Over here, a heavy, heavy concentration of blue team's forces, which is going to give them the ability to punch through the already very, very stout Armenian forces that are stationed here. Gold Chevron Armenian heavy infantry not going to rout very easily. They're holding their ground, but slowly but surely they are being driven back by just this massive local superiority here in favor of the blue team. Elsewhere, there we can see a counterattack with some spear sergeants and some axe sergeants on the front lines, looking pretty even though between the Jun swordsmen. Over here, it looks... Oh man, things not going great for the Armenian horse archers. Looks like they've been skirmishing down a lot of these Gulam foot guard, but the Gulam foot guard's block chance, I think, is going to give them the edge against the Armenian foot archers, or horse archers rather, who, as we noted earlier, are very, very vulnerable to missiles due to their very poor block chance and their low armor. So it looks like blue team is actually managing to hold their ground surprisingly well. Let's go ahead and let's slow it down just a little bit. Oh man, you can see that encirclement, though. That is still a danger. And you can see a lot of routing over here. Let's go and see how things are going for the blue team. Oh man, that's a lot of Ghazi now fleeing in the face of what appears to be the... this is the Tazdruli swordsmen. Still holding their line, but looking a little bit more thin on the ground. Countercharge here from the Tazdruli, looking to get a piece of those Askari nobles who are now going to flee in the face of that cavalry charge. Looks like some of those veteran Ghazi came back from routing. They've now rallied and are moving forward to disrupt the charge of the Tazdruli, who are going to find themselves taking in a little bit of a pincer movement here, attacked on two sides. So the Tazdruli are going to hightail it out of there as quickly as possible while taking heavy casualties in their retreat. Although there's quite a lot of archers over here, this is not going to be a victory for the blue team, I think. There's no way, unless they can pierce through here in force, get in with their heavy cavalry like the Sultan's bodyguard and the Askari nobles in the back, and begin to scatter some of these archers. This is going to prove to be a problem area, I think, for the blue team forces. Oh man, those poor Tawashi just getting absolutely butchered, and they're now routing off the field. Very unfortunate to see those veteran Ghazi are gone. They have not been shattered, though, so we may see some more action from them in the future. Elsewhere, the Anatolian spearmen now running away. A unit of Tazdruli got a little bit separated from the rest of the force and are getting run down by the Askari nobles, and I think they're now beginning to rout. They are actually shattered, in fact. Looks like one of the generals has gone down. It might be the... might be the general for the Georgians, which would explain the early shattering, but these Metsekhovne spearmen not doing very well against the Anatolian spearmen, who definitely have the advantage at this point. I can see these Metsekhovne being just absolutely cut down. Oh man, they may be able to break through the red team's wing here. That would be a very big deal for the blue team, and would go a long way, I think, in breaking the encirclement that the red team have them in right now. But the red team just don't seem to be able to capitalize on it, really. You can see a lot of routing here. There's a lot of routing blue team as well, but I can see some of these horse archers very, very thin on the ground now. It looks like there's a big charge coming in from these Askari nobles. Let's see if they manage to connect. Oh, yeah, that's going to be enough to shatter those Tazdruli. I think the Georgian general has definitely fallen. This Horse Archer is going to hightail it out of there, try and draw them into the Spear Sergeants, which is a very good tactic. I think that these Askari Nobles are going to be in a lot of trouble if they don't hightail it out of there. So the blue team is going to pull them out very, very quickly. They are wavering, though. We could see them rout if any more missiles and spearmen get into the rear. Oh, here these Askari Nobles also being driven back by those Horse Archers. Very, very deadly Horse Archers. This is exactly what I mentioned earlier, what their purpose appears to be on the battlefield. It is not killing infantry. It is killing other cavalrymen. Looks like the Askari are going to rally for one final charge. I don't know if it's going to be enough, though. It looks like they're already wavering, trying to just hold down this line. Oh, yeah, the spearmen, the Spear Sergeants moving forward, driving these guys back. Looks like a mass rout, in fact, for the blue team over on this wing. Taking a quick look now, it looks like the red team definitely has the advantage. Let's zoom back down to the battlefield, see how the Askari managed to deal with this. They're actually doing pretty well against those Spear Sergeants, but that archer support is going to be enough, I think, to see these guys off for good. Moving on over here, this is looking desperate for the blue team. They just don't seem to be able to break through. The red team definitely has the advantage. These light axemen just doing a number on these poor Thaklaw swordsmen, who just don't seem to be able to punch through the massive numbers that I believe this is the Pomeranian Duchy has been able to bring to bear on this wing. Back here, you can see more Gulam. In fact, we've got Blood Magpie's Gulam, who are looking very, very healthy. Obviously have been quite sparingly used. They've down, I think, to about half health. So he's obviously been positioning them well, keeping them out of harm's way, while still dealing damage to his enemies. Oh man, rear shots there into those Pomeranian Knights. That is going to be devastating for them, and it's going to give these Mamluk Tabardaria the opportunity they need to begin to drive back the red team. You can see these Spear Sergeants here from the Duchy of Pomerania slowly beginning to be surrounded by these Mamluk Tabardaria, who, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be a terror on the battlefield for these Tier 1 units, and indeed they have been. Look at this, we've got some early routing here amongst these Spear Sergeants. They're quite heavily reduced at this point. I don't think we're going to see too much more from them. They may shatter if they keep getting harassed like that. Over here, though, things not looking all that great for the blue team in certain areas. You can see some archers fleeing. There's probably the Gulam foot guard, yes, alongside some of the Tawashi cavalry, I believe. Yes, so more of the cavalry and their archers being driven back. Over here, these Adat spearmen. Looks like they got charged from the rear by the Pomeranian Knights, but they managed to push them back surprisingly enough, and those Pomeranian Knights now fleeing off the field. But let's slow down just a little bit here, because I think there's some bad news for the blue team over here on their left flank. The red team has utterly crushed them. You can see them now beginning to swing around. Oh man, that's brutal here. These poor Anatolian swordsmen now getting attacked from two sides by the Metsekhovne and these Spear Sergeants from the Armenians, who are now working in tandem to bring down these more powerful spearmen units. Yeah, blue team, I think, has officially been crushed over on this side. There still is a few of the junior Gulam from Blood Magpie, who I'm sure are going to make their presence known. He's a very strong cavalry player, at least from what I've noticed in some of the replays that I've been sent in. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to drive back the vast forces under the command of the red team here. Even with the loss of the Georgian general, they really seem to be pushing the blue team very hard. Although a little bit of inaction here among some of the Georgian infantry. They really need to get their butts in gear and begin to swing around. They've got a great opportunity, I think, to shut down these Gulam foot guard. They need to take advantage of that as quickly as possible. Over here, it looks like a little bit of limited success for the blue team. They're taking on now the Tazdruli swordsmen, who are going to begin to drive these guys back. Another unit of Armenian heavy infantry having been routed, but recently reforming, now charging in to the flank of those Thaklaw swordsmen, which is going to be enough, I think, to really swing that engagement very quickly in favor of the red team. Yeah, those Thaklaw swordsmen just getting cut down. They are now shaken, wavering. Probably not going to see too much from these guys. If they begin to rout now, while surrounded, they could possibly shatter. Oh, no, it looks like the red team is going to be the one that begins to rout. That is surprising. Looks like the presence of the senior Gulam in behind their lines really making a difference in this battle, starting to rout some of those Georgian infantry, who are, actually, that's the Armenians. But over here we've got the Georgians, who are now shattering instead of routing due to the loss of their general. That's very unfortunate, which is going to free up this unit of Thaklaw swordsmen for action elsewhere. Oh, man. This is not looking good. The blue team getting in, I think, some of their horse archers. No, that's the Gulam foot guard. Now engaged in combat against some of the heavy horse archers and the Kartlian spearmen. Oh, I didn't see them earlier. The Kartlian spearmen from Georgia. But it's really not going to go well for those poor Gulam foot guard. But it is going to hold him up long enough for Blood Magpie to come in from the rear with his still very healthy units of mounted archers. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe the blue team, with the aid of these archers and employing them to defeat what remains of the Georgian army in detail before turning around to swing the engagement in favor on the other wing in the red team's, or in the blue team's favor rather, is going to be enough to win this game for them. And you know, maybe it is. There's a lot of routing going on over here. Surprisingly enough, some of these Pomeranian axemen are now fleeing from the battlefield. And we can see some reinforcements coming over in the form of these Gulam foot guard. I think the blue team might be able to swing this. Over here, it looks like the Pomeranian king is under assault. He's brought in some spear sergeants to help him drive back the Tawashi cavalry. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to save the Pomeranian monarch in time. Oh man, those poor Tawashi cavalry just getting absolutely butchered. There's archers all over the place, archer sergeants laying down some fire. I think they're going to begin to rout now, and we may not see anything else from them for the rest of the battle. Yeah, they've been quite badly shaken, I think, by that engagement. But look at this. You've still got a very full health unit here of Sultan's bodyguard that could potentially be used to destroy some of these infantry units, rather. Oh man, look at that. More axemen beginning to break. It looks like things starting to swing in favor of the Gulam foot guard, of all people, who are supporting the Adat spearmen. There's an opportunity here for these spear sergeants to begin to surround these guys and break this very large, very important unit of blue team infantry. I think the red team really needs to react to this. Well, here, though, it looks like some of the Georgians still holding their ground. We got some Tazdruli and some Kartlian spearmen, and there's still a little bit of cavalry in the back as well, alongside some more Kartlian spearmen, and another unit, I think, over here of Metsekhovne. This is a fairly substantial force, I think, and if the red team can hold out long enough, the Georgians may be able to come in from behind and begin to destroy what remains of the blue team. This is really, really close. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward just a little bit here. Looks like the Pomeranian king is routing. In fact, he is shattered. He may actually be dead, in fact. So I think that the Pomeranian forces aren't going to be able to hold on as long as the Georgians need them to. Oh man, these Gulam just all over the place, everywhere that they need to be, raining death and destruction upon the red team's forces. If there's an MVP, I'm pretty sure it's the horse archer units for the blue team in this, because they've really made a big impact on the overall course of the battle. Let's see what's going to happen here. Big charge from the Sultan's bodyguard. I think this is the end for the red team. There's no way that the Georgians are going to be able to come back from this, not without their general. So we've got some routing there from the axemen, the Pomeranian axemen, now fleeing off the battlefield. The spear sergeants surely soon to follow. Oh man, they're just the Sultan's bodyguard is just absolutely merciless, chasing down those spearmen, making sure that they don't come back. It looks like the blue team completely and utterly victorious on this side. The only forces remaining are the Georgians. Look at this. Very proudly standing in defiance here, not going to give up at all. Blood Magpie moving in with his junior Gulam, just being an absolute terror here. You can see them circling around, looking for openings, looking to put a little bit of enfilading fire into these Georgian units, hit them where they're most vulnerable, and cause maximum damage. I've got more and more blue team forces now free from their engagement with the red team on their other flank, and they're going to move in to assault the Georgians, and that is going to be it. A very Pyrrhic victory. Let's take a look at some of the casualty breakdowns here for the armies. Got one of the Ayubayid forces here alongside the Armenians. Oh man, look at those horse archers. They just did so much. They had such a huge impact on the battle. It's really scary. Oh, and those foot Gulam guard. Most of the killing power of the Ayubayid Sultanate's armies seems to be located in their archer units. If they can really get to work, then they can do a lot of damage. Over here, the Thakla swordsmen, they didn't seem like they were doing too well from what I saw, but apparently they were really cutting people down. The Yun swordsmen not doing nearly as well, but at least holding their ground long enough to get a few kills. The Yun spearmen, though, just got absolutely broken. And over here we have the Sultan's bodyguard. I think that could be Saladin himself. The Ayubids, under Saladin, basically destroyed the Crusader kingdoms, sealing their fate at the Battle of Hattin? Hattin? I don't know. I'm obliged to say that, or inclined rather to say that as Hatin, but I'm not entirely sure of the pronunciation. But in any case, the Sultan basically drove the Crusaders out of the Holy Land until they managed to take back the coasts in, I believe, 1190. But over here, the Armenians did not bad at all. Look at this. Some of their infantrymen here, especially those Armenian heavy infantry, those gold chevron killing machines, did really well for themselves, all of them getting almost 100 kills each. The Highlanders didn't do too badly. I mean, they're a tier 1 unit. They don't seem to have a lot of armor and staying power, so I suppose it's not bad that they got the kills that they did, but still not all that impressive. The Azad archers really struggled, I think, against the Foot Gulam, who absolutely tore them apart. Over here we have the Armenian heavy cavalry doing not too bad. The horse archers from Armenia unfortunately kind of fell apart a little bit and just weren't able to have the same effect on the battle as the Ayubids. Ayubids, I don't know. I'm going to stop apologizing for that at this point because I'm just going with it. Over here it looks like the Sultanate of Rum, they did not too bad at all, though their veteran Ghazi kind of just got themselves beat up really badly. Although we saw them reform a lot and come back and get some flanking charges in there, which probably contributed to the routing of some of the units, so the kills maybe are a little bit deceiving in that regard. The Gulam Foot Guard, again, doing really well. It seems like these guys are really a good buy for for a lot of the Eastern factions. If you're going to be playing Tier 1 battles, definitely make sure you invest in some Gulam Foot Guard in the future. The Ascari Nobles not doing all that great. 33 on that one. 72 is not bad at all. 9 on this one, which is a little bit pathetic. Over on the other side, we have the Duchy of Pomerania. The Spear Sergeant, surprisingly well for a Tier 1 spear unit that doesn't have a lot of oomph behind it. The Axemen just did work almost entirely across the board. 54 on that one, which isn't all that great. Their Archer Sergeant's doing a hell of a lot better than some of the Azat archers. The Pomeranian Knights doing pretty well across the board, average in certain places, but 92 on that unit, 76 on these guys. Not bad at all. Pardon me. Down here we have the Ayubids, another very strong force here. Fat Claw Swordsman apparently doing really well. Gulam Foot Guard, look at that, 369 kills, that is intense. Senior Gulam here doing really well. I think most of the shock cavalry for the Ayubids was in here. Most of the Tawashi cavalry seems to belong to Julius here. 142 on that unit, that's not bad at all. Over on the other end, the Kingdom of Georgia, wow, they did a lot of work. Their infantry units did so much damage. The Manaspa Foot Archers, definitely a rival to the Archer Foot Gulam. The Tazdruli, just 220 on that unit. That's crazy to me. More than makes up for 23 on these guys and 93 on these guys. Oh, never mind. These are cavalry units, but still, that's not bad at all. 220 must have killed a lot of archers. But that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Coming up tomorrow, as I mentioned in my last video, we're going to be having a 4 vs 3 siege on Dueldorf for 3rd Age, just kind of exploring all the new factions in the 0.9 patch that just came out. And then I have another battle from Blood Magpie. I won't give you any details about that one. It's going to be a bit of a surprise for you. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed. I have been JMonster, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!